Greetings Internet! Today we're gonna discuss one really interesting topic. Well, everybody knows that macOS is a great system. Actually, all the previous software reveals, major releases, how Apple community calls them, OS 10, macOS 10, they're all great. But you know why? Because it has not only general system, like home system you boot in every time when you just opening your MacBook or just booting up your iMac or Mac Pro. There are plenty of other systems. But wait, what are the names of these systems? And why did Apple do them? And what is their purpose of existing? Well, this is what we actually gonna discuss today. Firstly, don't forget to follow our VMflame channel and don't forget to subscribe on us. It will be a great thing if you'll do that. And now, let's get started. Peter Gregorian is in front of the microphone. Just follow me everywhere. It'll be a great thing. And now, let's take a look. Well, macOS is a great system. Let's just make two big groups. There is a main system and subsystems and options. Well, main system currently is called macOS. And subsystems and options, there is an interesting story. Well, let's get started. Because there are plenty of these options, and you can do really a lot of things. Well, the simplest thing to get started with, they're the boot modes. Well, the simplest boot mode is safe mode. Actually, there you can still see the desktop and the main macOS user interface, so it changes a bit because it isn't so transparent like macOS or OS 10 or macOS 10 booted in usual mode, but there you can resolve each issue with hard drive, uninitializable hard drive, or an erasable bin. For example, when you just erase your bin and you see something like you can't erase the bin due to a known issue. There are some following issues. Then, the next, it is a single user mode. Well, single user mode is one of the hardest boot modes to be learned. Well, here we can repair the whole file system. For example, while I was trying to restore my Plextor SSD, I was making a file system reparation via single user mode. And then, there is also a verbose mode. Actually, it's not really scary. Well, at first, when you just boot, you can just access verbose mode every time, or you're in boot picker, just boot in simply. So, you see every process, so verbose mode eliminates every process which happens with the Mac when you're just booting up. So, then, you'll just see the startup screen and, well, everything will be okay. Then, the next thing. Recovery. Well, in 2012, Apple introduced such a great feature like recovery. Well, if you have a Mac which was released in middle 2012 or later, you'll definitely have this great feature. But I'm not pretty sure if this feature won't be available on earlier Macs. I think Apple has made a candidate update configuration which has enabled all types of recovery on all other older Macs. Well, this recovery applies only to Intel-based and Apple Silicon-based Macs. PowerPC-based Macs are just out of list because they are old and crappy. Well, let's start with a simple recovery. Simple recovery just restores the system from the same copy. So when you got a corrupted copy of the system, it's not advised to do simple recovery. It's advised to do a hard reset via internet recovery, downgrading or upgrading. We'll talk about it a bit later. Well, if you want just to simply reinstall the system and, for example, if you have a friend who want to give your MacBook because you have bought a new one, so you can just do a simple recovery. You can just reinstall the system, so the system will stay absolutely the same. You'll have the same build, you'll have the same update, but all the data will be lost. And the MacBook is to go, how to say. Well, the next thing, minimum recovery. So, minimum recovery has been also introduced in the same year. when simple recovery is introduced. By the way, talking about recovery, I just forgot to mention that earlier Apple shipped such great recovery disks. For example, if you bought macOS 10 retail DVD to install it on your Mac, so then there also shipped a gray disk inside, which you use to restore your system with. So at the same time as macOS 10 installation can be used once with one specific Mac, so recovery disk can be used several times. You know, it's like endless. So for example, if you're restoring the system each day, it can be used daily. Yeah. So minimum recovery, it is downgrading. Well, in-road recovery, it's a great thing. So imagine you just restored the system your Mac came with via internet. So I just hold Shift plus Alt plus Command R, and for example, if your Mac was manufactured in the summer of 2012, so you go just to macOS 10 line installer, yeah. And Max recovery. This is actually pretty the same as the previous one, but the system differs. Here we upgrade to the latest system. For example, in the case 1, for example, our Mac was manufactured in 2014, in late 2014, when OS X Yosemite was already the current system. Well, if you hold Shift Alt Command R, you'll get to OS X Yosemite installer, as well as if you go to maximum recovery, the latest system which is compatible with Mac that's manufactured in late 2014 is macOS Monterey, macOS version 12. So you're restoring again via internet. Well, and now let's talk about options. So the first simplest option ever, actually Apple had it every time when they just shipped Macs. It was compatible with each Mac. It doesn't matter whether a PowerPC Mac, Intel based Mac, or Apple Silicon based Mac. It's called Startup Manager, but some people call it Boot Picker. But I'll need to tell you one interesting story. For some time, on PowerPC Macs, so Intel-based Macs don't already have this feature, there was a fairy C key, when you can just boot from the specific CD, it's usually the installer CD, you plugged into your Mac. For example, you have an eMac right here, and you just plugged in macOS 9 installation CD. Well, you hold the C key, and you boot right from the installer CD. Well, next option is to relate in VRAM or RAM. Well, this crazy stuff does not really do something really enormously big, but this is something like single user mode does. Well, if you reset in VRAM or RAM, actually some settings like pinned tabs in Safari or some user interface settings will be lost. But if you have some issues, for example, when you just boot up your MacBook, it just stands on for several minutes, and then it just shuts down and reboots. Something this can help. Attention, it works with all Mac manufactured between 2011 and 2012. And the last thing, in options set, this is eSIM resetting. Well, here is the key combination mentioned only for specific type of MacBooks, because if you're just resetting the eSIM on a Mac Pro or an iMac, it just looks like this. You just need to take out the power cord and wait 15 seconds and then plug it in back. Great! Well, as far as I remember, when we just talked about internal recovery, all these types except simple recovery are made through internet. Well, let's talk about other options, because all the options mentioned on the right, not all of them. Well, NetBoot. What is NetBoot? Well, let's just shortly explain this. Well, we have volumes. These volumes are bootable. We have virtual volumes, they are bootable as well. And they are net volumes. Well, physical volume, we can touch it, we can plug it in, we can plug it out. Virtual volume, it is just a simple file like VMX in VMware Fusion. It is also accessible. As well as net volume, it is just volume which is sitting in the net. So it can be accessed by all the users sitting on the internet cable. For For example, if I connected to my MacBook Pro in 2012 with CD input and Ethernet, and I have connected to my home network, and I have created the netboot balloon for example, macOS High Sierra. Yeah, it was compatible until macOS Big Sur was revealed. So my dad, who is sitting on the same MacBook Pro, it should be earlier than 2017. Well, if he connects to the same network, I mean Wi-Fi, and if he connects to the Ethernet, he can boot from this netboot balloon. Well, this feature was removed in 2017 from all the Macs. It's kinda sad. But let's talk about other things. Target-based mode is quite an interesting thing. Target-based mode was, again, always with Apple's devices. It is one of the earliest, how to say, boot modes. So, earlier, before first Thunderbolt cable was introduced, well, you just plugged in the Firewire cable, connected to the Mac you wanna, just do some operations with, and the other Mac where you'll just start every operation. And you would do crazy things. You can just install software, bring their files, and even change the file system. So then Apple introduced Thunderbolt. Target-based mode also supported Thunderbolt, and currently it's supporting USB-C as well. And diagnostics through internet. Well, these two crazy guys have been introduced in Thun 12. But earlier, there was only one feature like diagnostic available. It was called Apple Hardware Test. So it actually featured all PowerPC Macs, and then it just transferred with all Intel-based Macs, and now it's also shipping with M1-based Macs as well. Well, diagnostic just help you finding all the issues, and attention, it doesn't show the system information about the drive. Well, that's all the options. And now, let's go to the other thing. Question: is there anything that can prevent you from doing all this crazy stuff? Well, there is one. Something called Firmware Password. Well, if you have a Firmware Password applied to your Mac, most of the features will disappear. Only Startup Manager will work. Only in read-only mode. But Firmware Password is also a great thing. It's not yet so scary to think. It is, it makes all the disk protection. Actually, this is what Firewall and Gatekeeper do. That's why Firmware Password is great, but if you have forgotten the Firmware Password, you cannot do anything, except viewing all the available drives. But then the next question: what is this crazy stuff done for? Now let's imagine. You have bought the Mac Mini on eBay, right? So the user who has used it before, and he definitely did, so he needed to make a hard reset. So he had three options for doing that. He can do the simple recovery, he can do the maximum recovery, he can do the medium recovery. Well, I think it won't be extremely comfortable for you if the user has left their files, which he used earlier, and the system settings, for example, Apple ID, or some other preferences, something like natural scrolling. So all this crazy stuff was made especially for the guys who want just to ship their device with somebody else. Well, that's all for today. Thank you very much, everybody. It was a great minute or another one, or more ones to sit with you. Just follow our VMflame Incorporated channel. I'll be extremely glad if you follow me on Instagram as well. It was Peter Grigorian with you. See you next time on my next tech video episode. See you. Bye.